And welcome to another episode of Inside the Mind of a Blerd. I am your host, Scuba Steve, and I'm joined by Double O, my co-host for the day.
What's going
Brother.
on?
Yep. And today we have a very special episode. We're doing an interview with the creator, Mr. Stokes of Decay Comics. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, brother.
Absolutely, yeah. My name is Anthony Stokes. I'm the writer of Decay. This is my first comic book series. This is my second issue. Dropped. The first issue dropped in August 2021,
Okay.
and I'm originally a screenwriter. So
Man.
that's why I started, and I ended up in comic books because it's like way cheaper to make a movie.
Okay. So you got a degree and everything in screenwriting and everything?
You said what?
I said you got a degree and everything in screenwriting?
Absolutely not. I'm all self taught essentially.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah,
about to
no
say,
formal
good.
education.
That's what's up. That's what's up, though. Man,
Yeah,
screenwriting.
it worked. It worked out because it was really hard to get validation when you're not in a classroom, when you're not with peers, you're not getting peer reviews. So it created a real drive and a real chip on my shoulder that has really helped me in the making of this and my other scripts. And a lot of the information that I would have gotten in school, I can get from YouTube. Twitter is a great tool. I watch a lot of video essays. You can just watch movies, for instance. So
Hmm.
I still think being a consumer is the best resource for being a creator or a producer of media.
This is facts. This is
So when it
facts.
comes to you for putting together like the writing of a story, people tend to have different tactics when it comes to their writing. Like sometimes they like to call do it with the door open, which is like they're taking critique as they're developing a
Mhm.
story or characters. Some like to do a door closed, where it's like I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna build and build and build. I don't want distraction. I don't want anyone's input to influence what I'm doing. What's your take about how you go about doing your writing and your characters?
That's a great question. That might have been a term I heard in film school. Like maybe I was missing something. That's a fantastic question. So I would keep the door like closed over. So I will throw out ideas to my friends, to some of my peers, but mainly it's in a vacuum. Like the collaboration doesn't begin until, especially with comic books, it doesn't begin until I send the artist a script. And
Mm.
you get some ideas, but mainly it's just me. Again, I didn't work in an environment where there was a lot of peer reviews, so I had to learn how to be very self-sufficient as an artist. So I think there's merit to both, especially if you were doing something that's more collaborative, like a movie. Um, uh, that would be something where you would need other people to step in. Even if you believe in the auteur theory, you would still need input from a cinematographer, all this other things. So I think there's merit to both.
Fair enough. Okay.
Fair enough.
So you said your first issue released August of 2021.
Hmm.
So how long was the process of getting that first chapter out, and how long have you been coming up with this storyline, pretty much?
So there's a couple of different answers. So I've been writing for like 15 years, since I was a freshman in high school.
Fair enough.
I've been taking it really seriously as a screenwriter. And then in August 2019, I don't know, I got a wind of Kickstarter. I always knew that making a comic book would be an easier alternate than to making a movie. So I kind of got in my head, and then March 2020 during the pandemic, I really started to sit down and try to create like a comic book. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up. August 2019, February 2020. I've been working so much during this point, like it's all a big blur. But essentially, for like, I came up with the K December 2020. So yeah, that checks out. Yeah, that checks out. So March 2020, I started really looking into comic books, and then December 2020, November to 2020, I made up the idea for the K, and then wrote the scripts out and all that stuff.
Okay. Do you find
So
it? Oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna ask because a lot of times just to give people kind of like I guess a set, not necessarily like a concrete timeline, but like
Hmm.
something tangible for them. It's like the inception of the idea and the research leading into the creation of the first issue, or not even
Mhm.
the issue, like your first script for the first issue. Can you tell us more about like how was the research going into developing that first script?
Oh, absolutely. So, it's set in New Orleans, so I did a lot. It was a really I don't do a lot of that adage of write what you know. I've been doing a lot of that, so it was kind of nice to break out and do something a little bit different. So I started looking into like New Orleans, and I was very happy to get that the research bore a lot of good information, which is really nice when that pays off. And then the idea, it was a little cynical. So I started with the very end, like of the series. So I can't talk about that, unfortunately, but
Hmm.
some of the deciding factors was I was like, okay, ultimately I do want to make a movie. Like while I love making comic books, I love the creative freedom that it provides. Um, it doesn't scrap. I'm a huge dialogue guy, so
Yeah.
my favorite artists are like Quentin Tarantino, Aaron Sorkin, James Gunn, Coen Brothers.
Okay. I like all
Those are
that.
Heavy
my
hitters.
they have their own things going on, but ultimately, like I fell in love with dialogue. Um, and that it's been like that probably for like the last 8 years, maybe longer than that. Honestly, yeah, probably longer than that. Um, so yeah, like I knew like making a comic book is not gonna like scratch that itch of seeing like a big actor read my dialogue, but it does feel very nice, and this will lead to, if I get there, this is going to have to be a part of that, that journey.
Yeah, and that's a great vision to have too, because it's like you said. To make a quick parallel, it's like seeing what's his name, the villain from Harry Potter, like seeing the words of him doing his dialogue to Harry
Voldemort.
in the books. It's like you're like, oh, okay, that's nice. When you see the actor deliver the line and kind of like go from like this nice crisp, and then like you see the manic come out when he goes, you're like,
Yeah,
damn, like you, that's not something you could visualize on the page.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
do.
yeah.
It does add something, and the I mean, movie cinema is the best medium. I mean, whenever something is really good from a different medium, it's cinematic. If it's a video
Mm.
game like God of War, if it's a TV show, like it's cinema. So there's a reason why it's held in that regard.
Facts, man. And then it's just like if you, especially when you get the right actor to deliver those lines and things like that, it just makes that dialogue that much more like meaningful. Because like I've read the Thor Love and Thunder, the with
Hmm.
Gore the God Butcher run, and Gore the God Butcher's dialogue in that comic is elite. And then when this movie comes out, we're gonna have Christian Bale play Gore the God Butcher, and I'm just like, this is about to be
Yeah.
some quotables all through this movie. So like I'm with you on dialogue is like super super important.
It's interesting because a comic book, the dialogue is antiquated. Like it's a visual medium, in some ways more so than movies because there's no sound.
Mhm.
So it was something where it's like I got to, even though I love this thing, I have to like. It's almost like the lack of dialogue counts for dialogue. Like that's a part of the, if that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
it's addition by subtraction in that way. Like I wanted the art to stand on its own. I wanted the art um to not to be seen, like if you're adding a bunch of, man, somebody sent me a page yesterday that had like speech bubbles on speech bubbles, and I'm like, bro, I'm like, my eyes are literally glazing over this, like I can't even read this. And that was something that was very readability, because you want it to make it as easy as possible for somebody to be a fan of you, and if people are fighting on the page with their eyes, like that's not a good start.
Yeah. So you're more about you want to do a good balance of show and tell. You don't want to literally tell everything, and at the same time you don't want to like show your hand all the time either. So you
I
gotta
would
like
say I
strike
would
that.
do like next to no tell. Like I don't want to tell anything. Honestly. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Oh,
Like,
that's good.
yeah, I mean it's harder, but that's what the medium is for. You know what I'm saying? When you write a book or a novel, yeah, go ahead and tell all you want because there's no visual component.
Hmm.
But and I'm not even sure how true that is. I haven't wrote a novel. I don't read a lot of novels, but for the
Mhm.
sake of argument, leave it. I was watching this. It was a splash page that went on 2 pages. And the left page was all dialogue bubbles, and the second page was half dialogue bubbles. So
Mm.
75% of these 2 pages was bubbles, and this guy there, shit made me laugh so hard. But that's the kind of things you want to avoid, right? Like you want to take into account the medium that you're working in. You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough. Fair enough. So since we kind of like went into that, I want to ask a question. Hopefully, this is not too crazy, but we're talking about dialogue. What are some of your favorite quotes?
Oh,
Like, you know what I'm saying? Just movies, comic books, TV shows, whatever.
let
Some
me
of your
tell you some of
favorite
my
quotes.
favorite movie scenes, or let me give you the scenes I think are the best written because I made a list actually.
Oh, okay.
So the Dark Knight interrogation scene I think is like the the best dialogue of any scene ever, possibly. Like it's just so fantastic. Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, Nolan, Gary Oldman working together and making like just the best scene ever. And my favorite part of it is it's a great back and forth, but ultimately Batman loses. You know what I'm saying? Like as soon as he punches Joker, he loses. And Joker even says that. Like it's the thesis of the movie. He's like, there's nothing you can do with all your strength. Like that's the theme of the movie. It's the thesis, and he just says it, and it slips right in there to the rest of the scene, you know. Um, and I think the coin scene from No Country from Old Men,
Ooh, okay, yeah. Okay.
fantastic. It's incredible. It's like call it, just call it. Like it's so tense, and I love it because it doesn't really have much to do with the rest of the movie. Like I think the Coen brothers are good at that. Of like they'll have one scene that has nothing to do with anything, but it's really good. That's fantastic. I think Edgar Wright is a fantastic writer. There's some great Scott Pilgrim quotes I could think of, but I can't think of right now. I'm on the second leg of this press tour, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little beat right now. But I'm trying to think what else. There's obviously some great MCU moments that have a lot of great dialogue. Infinity War has amazing dialogue. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many great moments. Like he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get that arm. Like
Yeah.
it,
Yeah, Rocky Raccoon.
yeah,
He was
he's
one of
like, I am Steve Rogers. Like, there's so many great lines in
the.
those movies. You know what I'm saying? So I could talk about dialogue all day. Literally, I could literally talk about the shit all day. Like, it's my favorite thing in the world.
Double O, you got something to add to it?
I was thinking of like there's a lot of literature that gets made into like movies, or you'll have an adaptation with graphic novels. Like one of the things that came up to me because I read it as a kid, and then as I got older, I saw the movie for it was something old school classic, Flowers for Algernon. So towards the end, when they take him out into the fields, and it's been replicated in a bunch of different films and TV shows, where like he just tells them, "Hey, you know what's gonna happen. You see him go out with the shotgun right behind the guy, and he's just like, man, just look at the flowers. Just come on, man, just look at
You
the
say Flash for
flowers."
Algernon?
Yeah.
No, you're thinking of Mice and Men.
Oh, right. Mice and Men. Okay.
I
Yes,
was
yes,
like,
yes.
yo, I was
I'll be.
like,
End up mixing Mice and Men, Flowers for Algernon, and what's his name? Capote in Cold Blood.
I
Oh, okay.
Mice and Men is actually one of my favorite stories. Like I if you look at the way that a Mice and Men is structured, it's kind of one of the way that it like twists the knife. Like you could make of Mice and Men into like an indie movie like tomorrow. Like it wouldn't take anything. It's just structured so great, and so many stories resemble it because it's so somber. You know, it's so somber. It's like you know this isn't gonna work. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we all know. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's not clear on the first read, it's clear on the second read. Like this shit is not about to work out. And it's just that sadness that you feel. I love a Mice and Men, and I think that's a great example of also I like to say one of my favorite quotes is be genreless. So
Mhm.
you want your piece of writing to have multiple layers and different levels. You know, we want to feel the same way the whole time. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I think Infinity War is a great example of that. I mean, it's simultaneously one of the tensest movies I've ever seen and the funniest movie I've ever seen.
Mhm. Fair.
Like,
No, go ahead.
yes,
Um, Would you? I was actually just saying fair enough, but
Mhm.
agree with you. One of the moments, I remember you just brought up tense moments. One of the more tense moments I had was Mission Impossible 3, the opening scene where Tom Cruise is sitting across from Philip Seymour Hoffman, and then the opening scene starts with Tom Cruise and he's tied to a chair, and then his girlfriend in the movie, I can't remember who it
Oh,
is.
the rabbit's foot.
Yeah, and yeah, he's like, what's the code? Send me tell me the codes." And Tom Cruise is like, "No." That shit was like super tense for like the first 12 seconds of a movie. I was like, "Shit."
Yeah.
So
Well, J.J. Abrams is a TV writer, so he understands a cold open, like he wrote Lost. I mean, and that's the beauty of working in multiple mediums is that you can take what works from different mediums and not do a direct thing, but you can also be inspired. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
like, nah, yeah, that's shouts out to R.P. Philip Seymour Hoffman, man. It's kind of crazy. We got him in a Mission Impossible movie. Like, shit is wild.
we were supposed to get him to play the Penguin, and
Oh,
I was
maybe his
hurt
son can
about
do
that.
it. You
Yeah,
seen his son? His son can act.
I haven't seen him, but I know his son looks like him, but I haven't seen him act.
He was in Licorice Pizza. He was very good.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
look that up. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to look that up. But
I was
okay.
I was gonna interject. Another good thing too about the medium of something like a film, it's
Mhm.
also that you have an actor like especially like if it, it's your script, it's your baby.
Yeah.
You might want a particular actor to play a particular character, right? But at the
Mhm.
same time, you know that in your eyes, the greatness of this actor, they might take the character upon themselves, sit with it, start thinking like the character, and they might even ad lib as like this is something I feel like this character would say because
Yeah.
I'm in this mode. And it brings me to one of my favorite cinematic scenes is when you have Robert De Niro and Al Pacino like just having a conversation at dinner and they're just going like they're just vibing off each other. And it's a scene that was improvised. It wasn't even something that was in the script.
Yeah.
All
Well, there's a term for it I haven't thought of, but like, yeah, I mean, it's like you want to write enough script. You have the beats that hey, you need to hit that. You got to say this shit. But there's also the in between. Like if you look at like a Judd Apatow movie, which is my favorite. I forgot to mention Judd Apatow. I love Judd Apatow. I love Seth Rogen. I love damn, who's the dude who's in Barry? What's his name? Oh,
shoot, dang,
killing me.
dang, you.
That is
I
killing
had
me.
it too. I love Barry.
He's
Um,
fantastic. He's a fantastic writer, actor, and like you have an outline, and then the actors can kind of work within that as they may. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like a preparedness, but you also have to be flexible as well because it
Bill,
is a collaboration.
Bill Hader is his name.
Bill Hader,
I can't think of it.
fantastic, fantastic writer.
The new season is about to come out too for that, by the way.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I like to wait till the end, but yeah,
oh,
shouts out to him.
but getting back to everything that you're doing right now.
Hmm.
So who going about finding the artist and everything like that, was that a hard struggle for you, or did you kind of just find it? Because I every time we talk to people, they're like, "Man, finding the artist is hard," and all this other stuff. So I'm wondering, how did that go? What's your story, and how did that work out for you?
So I hired one guy who, I don't want to say ripped me off, but definitely oversold what they were capable of. And I said, you know what? That's just how it goes. Essentially, you just have tryouts.
Hmm.
And I got pretty lucky. I'm on the second artist I found was the one I ended up working with, and it's been a pretty good partnership. You know what I'm saying? Like I take care of him. He does all the promo art for free. He doesn't speak English. Funny enough, he speaks Portuguese because he's Brazilian,
Hmm.
which definitely creates some challenges. But ultimately, like I would like to work with him for quite some time.
Fair enough. 'Cause the struggle that I had kind of the same struggle. My first artist kind of just skated on me.
Yeah, don't do that. Actually, actually, I lied. I had two artists, the previous artist before Decay. Before I started working on Decay, the other artist basically like took $150 from me,
Mm,
and I'm about to work on getting that back very soon. But so
hey,
really, it took two other artists, which isn't bad.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is. Once you can
Hmm.
find that consistent, what I'm saying, artist, that's what it's really all about. So, Um, but when you were doing the process of like choosing the artist, did you have like a art style in mind, or did you just kind of just be like, did you like do auditions for like going on Reddit or something like that to find people, or did you just say, "Oh, he can draw. Let's see what you come up with"? Did you
I
have?
mean, I wanted it. I didn't want some abstract. Like I did want something that's pretty basic. I don't want to say basic, but something that's pretty standard as far as art style. I didn't want anything too crazy because this
Mhm.
is a real grounded story. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So something pretty standard was what. And then yeah, I just hired them for like a project. Did another project. Did another project. I'm like, hey, this is the guy. You know what I'm saying?
Excellent.
When it came for when it came to in being in contact with the artist, is there any particulars that you gave them as far as guide notes, as far as like the characters or the scenery, or have them like did the artist on their side have to do their kind of research as far as like your place, your setting, the people that you're using because of the place it's taking place in?
I think I'd do panel by panel, like kind of like the layout, and he would kind of take that and do his own thing. But I think the research and all that stuff, and I think it's on you to provide the references and make it as easy as possible because they do have the more time consuming job. So
Hmm.
I think you should put the burden on yourself to make it as easy as possible. You know what I'm saying? Like essentially make it easy for them. So I did as much. I try to do as, especially with there being a language barrier, which I think helps in some ways. So I'm like, all right, if this person from a different culture, it speaks a different language, can understand what's going on, then anybody can.
Hmm.
So that was a huge like point of emphasis, and that was something that kind of worked out. But like, yeah, I do have to communicate things pretty simply just because we talk to a translator.
Gotcha.
Fair enough. Um, so you said he's Portuguese and everything like that. So one day, I guess you've gone to different cons and things like that. Have you already done to? I
think I've
saw a few.
done. I did Hampton Comic Con, Virginia Beach, Fairfax. I've done 4 cons.
Four cons? Okay.
Yeah,
So have you ever considered, or has he ever asked you or mentioned about coming to a con to join you at a table
I mean he's in
or?
Brazil, bro. I mean it'd be crazy. Yeah, that'd be a lot. That'd be expensive. I mean he hasn't really mentioned it. I don't like I said. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of small talk because again we can't really communicate with our translators. So
Mm,
we don't have those conversations I would like to have. And something I'm thinking about is getting I'm so tired. Sorry, getting an
mhm.
editor who can speak Portuguese so we can communicate better. Some I'm thinking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Um, so I know you said you have a Kickstarter coming.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you said this is your second Kickstarter.
This is my second Kickstarter. Yep.
Okay. So what were the challenges and what was easier about this Kickstarter than the prior Kickstarter and everything like that?
I guess the intimidation factor was gone. Like I fulfilled it. Like when you started, I was scared. I was scared as hell, man. Like just like, man, how am I gonna do this? And it's actually easier, at least the way I did it. I mean, I just mailed it to people. Some people use BackerKit, which is a fulfillment program, which does like all the work for you essentially. So if you have a lot of if you have a lot of backers, that is the way to go. Some of these campaigns have like 400 backers. Like, yeah, to individually go to the post office, shit, that'd be crazy.
Hmm.
That would be insane. So just kind of getting familiar with the actual process. I did, and one thing I really preach is understanding the platform that you're on. You want to finesse the platform, like the things that'll work for Kickstarter will not, or the things that work for Indiegogo or Zoop may not work for Kickstarter. Kickstarter has certain benefits that you should take advantage of, or else go somewhere else. So I know those little things now. And it's like it's hard to explain because my thing with this campaign, like I definitely made a lot of money, but like I was so far like in the black as far as like it costs so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I was like, damn, I kind of gotta like I'm always gonna be more concerned about making comic books, but I was like, okay, I have to make a plan so that I can sell these. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I can keep my business alive. So I did everything, bro. Like I'm doing cross promotion. I'm doing like 30 plus interviews. I like been doing Twitter spaces like crazy.
Yeah.
And there's nothing easy about this shit. I ain't gonna lie to you. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like, man, like I'm be honest, if y'all cancel, I'll be like, I can sleep. You know what I'm saying? But like we're gonna see if it's worth it. But I can't say it got easier. You know what I'm saying? And my thing is like, if you have to do it, overdo it. And then I can try everything. I can look and see, like, okay, this went good, this went bad, and I can kind of scale back where I need to. So where I'm like, I'm not going like super crazy. Like this is like overdrive. You know, I'm gonna hit the nitro button in Fast and Furious. Like that's me right now. But my next campaign, we can kind of pull it back and all right, we can have like a more restrained press tour and things like that.
Yeah. But that kind of experience is what kind of sets you apart from someone like you being able to be the face and do it firsthand. Makes it that much easier for you down the line to delegate. Like once you get certain things in place, you're like, this is how I like this is how I like that.
Yeah.
Because one of the biggest pitfalls tends to be marketing for people. They're like, I want to do the art, I want to put it out, and that's it. And it's like, that's one part. That marketing is huge.
The easier part, you might say.
Yeah.
And I actually find that more interesting because I'm in the market. So I wrote Decay a year ago, essentially, like issues 1 through 5 already written. So the challenge there is already done. So I'm super excited, but it is kind of like mitigated because I'm like, I know this story already. But the marketing is like new, you know, it's like some new shit. And you're right. Like I had a hard conversation with myself. Like you gotta look in the mirror. I said, if I keep doing what I was doing, my business would have like died essentially. You know what I'm saying? So the marketing is a huge part. And that's something I wish I had thought about before I studied Kickstarter. I got Kickstarter down to a science. You know what I'm saying? I should have been getting Twitter to a science. I should have been getting Instagram to a science. You know, I don't know how big TikTok was at the time, but things like that, like these other platforms, in conjunction with knowing Kickstarter, like what I did was I made the comic book and then found my audience. What I should have done was found my audience and then did the comic book. And you know what? It worked. It's working out really well, actually. And doing everything myself, I will know how to market a book if this campaign goes well. So that is fantastic that's the case. Absolutely. And yeah, it's I think the big thing I did was I had my issue 1 ready before the campaign started because I didn't want to rush my artist. 1, I didn't want to rush myself, and I want to give myself time. And what I knew was that nobody owes me anything. You know what I'm saying? As a creator, even the people that do owe me things that they don't like. Some of my favorite people in the world didn't contribute to my campaign. You know what I'm saying? Which was a hard pill to swallow. It was tough, but you know, like that's just the reality of the situation. So I think the biggest piece of promo is your issue 1. And I think creators are too precious with their issue 1s. You know what I'm saying? Like you're so caught up in getting that money back instantly that you could use a small fish to catch a bigger fish. You send somebody a digital PDF, they might be inclined to pay you for it. I've had people say, I got to pay you for this. You know what I'm saying? I've had people buy a physical copy after getting a digital. And you can send that digital to, there's this guy I know, Anas, who wrote Eleuthermania, probably saying it wrong. He said he got 1,000 views on his issue 1. Like, that's insane. That is crazy. You're not getting that if you're selling it for $2.99.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's something to keep in mind too, is that use the circumstances to the best of your ability and don't be afraid to be in the black for a while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like that's one of the things and me talking behind the scenes to Steve, I'm like, man, you know, you can tell he's been in the market. He studied the game because I'm like, look at that. He came through. He had a press kit ready. Some people are like, you tell them like, okay, we're gonna interview you. All right, cool. That's what you want to promote. All right, where's your press kit? And they're like, a what? And you're like, oh,
yeah.
You shouldn't be telling me what.
Different things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's just easier. Press kit, boom. Yeah, like it's just trial and error. But yeah, like one thing that somebody told me about, and they were like failing fast. So the principle of failing fast is that if something is not working, like dive head first, and if something is not working, identify it immediately and change it. So I went on a podcast, one of my favorite podcasts to do because it's from my hometown. It's called Any Last Word Pod. Shouts out to those guys. I was next door neighbors to one of the podcast hosts, and I can do it in person. You know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
love the remote shit because it's convenient. You know what I'm saying? But
Of course.
the in person, you can't beat that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sitting there talking to them, and it becomes apparent that an hour into this episode, they didn't read the issue one. Like I sent somebody to send to them, and something got mixed up. So I was like, all right, press it, boom, Google Drive. Like there's nothing. There's like make it as easy as possible. So no, I appreciate that. And at this point, like I said, my passion is more in the marketing than the art, it's so to speak, at this point. Because if I can market something well, then I can help. I can't like making the art. I can really only help myself. But if I can learn how to market, I can help anybody. You know what I'm saying? And there's a whole industry of people like publicists, consultants. You can make that your day job. You know what I'm saying? And I have a lot of talented friends, and I would love to get them use my platform to help them out. So that's where my head is at right now. So you're absolutely. I'm glad you keyed in on that.
Yeah, like I said, for us one of the two things we love to just hammer down because we do it ourselves when we were guests to other people's podcasts. We're just like,
Mhm.
look, get your press kit together. They need to know, have like if you're doing a guest as a podcaster, hit two or three key moments where people had a good time, they laughed, hit that in there. Your little small little bio, who you are, what you do,
Yeah.
press kit,
Hmm.
some information there for them to gobble up. And the other thing that's very key is can't stress having a very short and concise elevator pitch
Oh
for
my
someone to,
god.
because I'm like, so
Mhm.
many people, and it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the thing. It does not have to be perfect.
Make that
You
shit
have to be
perfect.
able at a drop of a dime, and someone, because it will happen.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. People love to, and I guess I know we can curse and stuff, but I'm like, people like to fuck around in cons, and they'll go by your table and go, "You got 30 seconds to sell me on why I should listen to your podcast." And it's like, it's not a joke. You don't know who this person, who he's connected to, who he can put you in connection with.
Mhm.
You never know.
That motherfucker probably work at McDonald's, but I see your point. I don't like to work that hard. Like, damn, like I ain't no goddamn monkey, you know. Like, but no, you're right because people, you know what it is, and because people, I came with this idea a year ago. So the story will be told in a total of 3 years. It'll finish in 2024. So you're talking about 3 years.
Mm.
Um, it's very story based, it's very character based. But some people are working on these comic book ideas for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So they're in love with their world already. They're sold in their head. Oh, this is the shit. I have the next Star Wars. No, you don't. But I have the next Star Wars. Yeah, sure. And then so they forget the things that Star Wars does, which has the show don't tell. There's the opening crawl, which is a
Mhm.
lot of tell. And then after that, what is it? It's a little ship getting chased by a big ship. We can identify immediately with the story, the characters instantly. And then you do this, it's like, oh, the year was 4705 in the Xandar galaxy. There's a ruler. And it's like, slow down. Who? What, when, where? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like they don't
Yeah.
even answer those basic questions. So yeah, I told a guy like, yeah, give me an elevator pitch, and he talked literally for 5 minutes, but
Ooh.
didn't stop talking. I literally like set a timer, and I was like, yeah, like it was torture. I ain't gonna lie. So no, an elevator, and I don't even necessarily like an elevator pitch. You have to just be able to tell somebody about your story in a concise way.
Yeah.
And that's so important. Don't get caught up in the lore because we really, people care about characters. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like people are like, for instance, we can stay on Star Wars, The Last Jedi, right? Yeah. People are upset because of the whole speeder quantum jump thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
How it blew away their whole thing. People were upset about that. People were really upset about Luke, how they treated Luke Skywalker. Like that was also another thing. Like people care about characters, not about lore. Like the lore is
Mhm.
the sprinkling on top. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
If you care more about the lore than the characters, get an omnibus. make a tabletop RPG or something. Like, but most people care about the characters. The person walking by you at a con cares about the characters. I promise you.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So, um, you said that 2024. So I would say, how long would you think this is going to be, a longer story or a shorter story? 25 to 50 chapters, or not
Five,
even
five,
that?
five issues.
Oh, 5 issues. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, my artist is on page 5, so 7 more pages. We'll be halfway done,
With phase.
which is a nice feeling. And I might do a side series. I'm working on a second comic book project right now,
Hmm.
but having a definitive ending was huge. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's the benefit I think of the indie comics is that okay, this has an end. We want endings. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
as human beings, we want endings. We want closure. So that was like a huge thing. And if I want to make like an epic or something down the road, I can absolutely do that.
So see, you speak really well about people tend to usually get married to, like you said, their world,
A lo-
and this is the lore, right? Before you even get the first issue out.
yeah,
Um, so
yeah,
the beauty behind it is, it's like, as you said, it's more about get your issue out, see, get great feedback, so you can work off of that, even if you still have stuff in play.
right.
I think they get too concerned with how already established comic book runs happen, how they're like, these are month to month, or these are like 12 issues, and it's like, you're focused on your story and you're developing your characters, not
You're
not
not
to
Brian K. Vaughan, bro. Like,
right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I would love to, I hope to turn into that one day, but like, you're not. You know what I'm saying? Like, he had to stumble, I'm sure. Like, I haven't read all his stuff, but like, I know he didn't start off with Saga. You know what I'm saying? And even if you read Saga, it is very good at what I'm describing and at making you care. They show you the character. The first thing they show you is the characters. Like it's
Hmm.
two people in danger. Oh, they're in love. Oh shit! Like stakes. Boom. It's not like there's these two planets in the galaxy far, far away, and one of them doesn't like them. One of them, one of them has wings, and one of them can't fly, but they have wings. It's like it's just the human element first, and I think the human element is the most important part of these stories. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
and like you said, it's easier to sell me on, like, my character is a cross between Kratos and Luke Skywalker,
yeah.
versus like, oh, Star Wars, like the planet Tatooine. It's like that with like Hogwarts, and it's like, what?
What does that even mean? Yeah, yeah. What
Yeah.
does that even mean? Yeah, the first one was intriguing. The second one was like, oh, I'm walking away.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
it's so we said I know I said being consumer is like huge, but also you also want to take the right things away from Star Wars, from Lord of the Rings, from the MCU, from Harry Potter, and the wrong thing. Not the wrong things. And I mean that, and you got to look at what they did right and what they did wrong. You know what I'm saying? So that's important too.
fair enough. Fair enough. Um, so I know in the comic book run that we have in Decay, we have black characters, which we need more black stories and things like that. So, what was one of the main focuses in doing that and giving us black stories and things like that? Was that just one of those things where you were like, yeah, we need that, or was it one of those things where you weren't just necessarily focused on it? You just was like, I'm writing a story that's written by a black man, so
Yeah,
of course they're black characters, but you know what I'm saying? You're just telling a great story.
I'm just telling a great story. There's no social commentary. I mean, there's a mention of Hurricane Katrina that's very subtle. I mean, most people don't even pick up on that.
Mhm.
Um, and you can even debate if that's a race issue. Well, what I will say is you see a lot of these creators and it's not just black creators. That's the ones that's going to stand out to us because we recognize our culture.
Mhm.
But like they're just high. They're basically resting on the laurels of their culture. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not making a great story, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like that, which is completely subjective. Um, so there's that, but like you don't want to be like, hey, I mean, I've seen rip offs of like legacy superheroes where it's like, oh, I call it I call it the Black Lives Matter comic book. And listen, there's loads of merit to that movement. There's loads of merit to having diversity in comics, but if that's the first thing you say to me, like, oh man, I made a black comic book. You again, I mean, that's almost like that's real life lore. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like So it's like, well, what about this? What about the story? So I really wanted something. If people like, if you want to go and say, yeah, this is a black comic book that I'll let not y'all, but I will let other people make that statement or bring whatever they want to it. But I'm not going to do it myself because I want it to stand on its own.
Fair enough. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Um,
like you're not doing me any favors um if you make a story representing me and it's some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not
well,
doing anything for
Yeah.
me.
it's a few of them out there too. It's a few of them out there, but like that's what I'm saying. Like we get so stuck on, and there's nothing wrong with it, but at the same time, it's like there are the black stories and everything like that, but then they have to throw in some of the lessons and stuff like that, and it's like where's just I just want a black story, like you know what I'm saying, just a story like Jingle Jangle. I don't know if you've seen Jingle Jangle with Forrest Whitaker.
Is that
It's a
good?
yeah, it's a Christmas story, but it's not
Okay.
necessarily like just heavy, like you know what I'm saying, black culture, black culture, black culture.
Nobody gets shot by the police. Yeah.
It's
Go ahead.
just a wonderful story with
Yeah.
black people in it. You know what I'm saying? So we get that
Mhm.
wonderful story that we get, but we get to see us in it.
Yeah.
Whereas like sometimes we get these stories and it's just like trauma, trauma. You know what I'm saying? Us running from the
Yeah.
Yeah.
police, telling.
And I do think the black trauma narrative is interesting because I mean, and I'm curious. I guess what I understand people say is that we don't just need like. It, let me collect my thoughts for a second. Trauma is the best motivator for a character. Like if you think about you have a bunch of posts on your wall. I can't make them out too well, but I bet some of those characters are traumatized.
Oh yeah.
What is that? Gorn Loggin? Trauma. Like you
Mhm.
can.
Yeah.
It's just a great motivator, right?
Mhm.
So I do push back a little bit. It's like we want black creators to create, but we don't want them to, create what traumatizes them. And then so I am kind of like shoot myself in the foot with my previous argument about the Black Lives Matter comic book and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But the reality is that if we want people are going to make what traumatizes them, you know what I'm saying? And also to be 100% fair, some of these black positive movies look kind of boring to me. Like King Richard looks kind of boring. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, where's the conflict? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
so that's just an example. So I think it's a very nuanced conversation. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I know you said that you had went to an interview
Hmm.
and then you were like they clearly didn't read the first chapter or the chapters that were sent to you. So I'm about to say, so do you care if we actually talk about the chapter or do you want to keep that you know closed off?
Let me say that the issue one was lost somewhere. Like it was lost. It's not like they
Mhm.
got it and didn't because that happened to me too. And honestly, it kind of set things off on a really bad flex. I'm like, damn, bro, you didn't even. It's
Mhm.
it's a it's a 10-minute read. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like shit. And it became painfully apparent that person didn't really care about the comic book. They I don't know what they were really plugging their own thing.
Mhm.
So I want to be clear. That's not what happened. But here, my thing is like, look, let's just have a good conversation,
Mhm.
and to me, that will hopefully entice people to get to invest and all that stuff.
Okay.
I feel like in giving something like that, like you're giving, and not again, not that particular situation, just in general, when you're interviewing someone and they're giving you material to go through. A lot of times, the person you're interviewing, their personality shines through in the material that they're providing to you. So
Mhm.
I feel like it is, like you said, it does set a strange precedent for the conversation when essentially now you're having when it's supposed to be one stranger, right? Like now
Yeah.
you're having two strangers having a conversation, and you're just like,
Yeah.
actually, you're supposed to know something about me. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We're supposed to have something in common to talk about, and
Mhm.
then yeah, we just ended up
right?
talking about their thing, which is hilarious.
Yeah, like that's a strange thing to show up to an interview and feel like you're interviewing the people who are interviewing you.
It's like me showing to an interview without a resume. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like the
Yeah,
inverse, but it's like so weird. Like,
yeah.
oh my goodness. But yeah, we can talk about the case. Sorry. Yeah, we can absolutely talk.
Yeah, because
I was about to ask.
I was about to say, yeah, I don't want to dive into it and give away something for people that are listening that might not, that want to read it and everything like that. So I don't want to dive into heavy spoilers or anything like that.
Okay, fair
But
enough.
I know you have, it's a story pretty much. I mean, obviously the story is called Decay, so I would think people would kind of get it. But It's obviously a story kind of having like some necromancer mancing in it and things like that. So as far as like the story of the first chapter, you kind of like touch on pretty much what's going to happen in the end, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of give us that a little bit, and then you 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 double back. You tell a
Hmm.
little story
Oh,
building
I
up
see what
to
you're
it.
saying.
Yeah,
A cold open.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And you kind
We
of
talk about
like
Mission Impossible 3.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you kind of like you go back and then you tell a story and then we lead to that moment and everything like that. So what was really your thoughts on that process on how you wanted to start your story and what made you go that route?
Well, so you want something that, like, again, nobody owes me anything. Like, I
Mhm.
can't state it enough, and I'm very proud of the fact that, like, most of the people that are my fans, like, I talk, and I don't have a lot of fans. Like I said, I'm not Brian K. Vaughan, uh, but like most of the people that are interested in Decay, like, I personally sent them the comic book, and I seek them out and say, "Yo, can we do a podcast? Yo, can you who wants to read my comic book?" So I'm very proud of that. And I had to have something that will hook people. And also, hey, you know from the first page that this is for you or not.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I wanted to hook people through the cold open because again, I've written TV pilots. I watch a lot of TV. I understand. Okay, you want to hook that person, and what that cold open does is it adds a sense of foreboding and tension and dread throughout the rest of the story. So the story, while we're getting to know the characters, there should be a feeling of dread throughout an undercurrent of dread. So that was the motivation there to hook people and to add dread.
Fair enough. I know I'm a reader of like books like that that say how to write or writing the perfect story. So I read
Mhm.
there's one book reading the manga. It's called by Araki, who is the writer of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And he was saying the your first page, your main goal is to get them to turn the page, get the reader to turn the page. That's the main
Oh
goal.
yeah,
And like you definitely do that in your first page. You're like, okay, I need to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Let me go and turn the page and go to the next one. So
yeah.
I thought that was really dope how you did it. And then it was like immediately it was like, all right, so here's what happens to get to this point. And I thought that was a really dope way of presenting your first chapter.
And then there's also a twist that comes with the cold open that I
Mm,
was really happy when I came up with because I was like, how do I tell this story that's a little basic? Like, how do I add it? And that's when the screenwriting comes in. I was like, all right, so if I tweak this here, stop this here, we can have some interesting happen in every page, right?
Mhm.
So that was a major point. And obviously the ending again, people don't owe me anything. I had to get something that would get people hooked at the ending.
mhm.
Damn, where's
Yeah.
issue two? That's what when I hear that, like I'm like, okay, I did my job. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm,
I got you. You know what I'm saying? So like
Mhm.
the the beginning and end pages are huge.
facts.
Not
That's
that
it.
you can have some bullshit in between the beginning and end, but like like that is very. I've watched pilots that have good endings and in bad, like good endings and good beginnings. And I like, oh, the middle kind of stunk, but I'm like, in your head, you're like, I wonder what happened. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? And that's the when you can have the middle be good in the beginning and end, like that's just perfection. That's just
Yeah.
screenwriting nirvana.
So in that first issue, one of the scenes that stuck out to me that made me like double take and then like even having like the writer in me go like it was like the wheels are turning. I'm like, there's no way this is a throwaway scene. So like when they're peering over the from the living room to the kitchen and like he's just motioning, he's like ha ha ha, and I'm like, no, this is not a throwaway scene.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You said like
And then
this? What happened? I'm sorry.
huh? Because when they're peering over the from the living room to the kitchen, like through
Mhm.
like the
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 little.
slit, like they're seeing them like they're well, they're friends because you don't really know if they're friends or not. Like they're coming
Yeah.
in and they're just like hey, and he's like yeah, I'm noting that
Oh, he
I see you
points at
too,
him.
and yeah, and he's like but he
Oh
points at him
yeah.
like this,
Yeah,
and
with
he's
the
like
fingers.
that was kind of weird, like.
I don't
Yeah.
know if he did like this, but he definitely
No, no,
pointed.
but like he was like no, not. I don't mean like a gun. Like he kind of like pointed at him
He pointed at him.
in
Yeah,
such a
which is a
fashion. You're
no
just like,
go.
Mhm.
That was kind of strange that he pointed at him that way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not great. It's not great to point at people when you're at situations like those.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
that went to go show that like, hey, this character is a little more sheltered than our other character,
yeah,
Mhm.
who knows how to navigate these situations better. So that's a small moment to kind of you want to add character as efficiently as possible.
yeah,
And that was a moment that was like, all right, cool. This can kind of differentiate the two of them.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely in that whole scene when the character walks into the living room or the house party, and he walks in and they kind of like talk about him a little bit. You're like, oh, it's about to go down.
yeah,
But honestly and truthfully, like I didn't know that that scene was going to be the scene that caused the first page. So I like that. I
yeah,
thought it was just going to be more story, and
Mm-hmm.
then when you find out that, oh, okay, this is the scene that causes the first page. Okay, I
yeah,
thought that was really dope. I didn't know that that was what was going to pursue and be actually the reasoning of why our character ended up like that in the first page. And so for I guess for me personally, is your MC the female character or the male character, or are this just a combination of both?
You can. I mean, for issue one, you could say it's her. She starts the inciting incident of the if you looked at it like a movie, if you looked at 5 issues, and it's not you guys don't have all the issues, but if you look at it like the inciting incident would be her bringing making the decision to bring him back to life. So
Hmm.
you can go either one.
Okay, yeah. As I was wondering, because I've only read the first two, so I'm wondering like,
yeah.
okay, so we brought him back to life. So is the rest of the story going to continue from him, for 3 to 5, or are we going to get her like kind of like watching over and making sure that he's okay? And I guess he's like her hero in a sense because obviously he's brought back from the dead, so maybe he's protecting her in a sense. I don't know how we were diving with it, but I'm like, man, I wonder who is really gonna the story is really gonna
Keep
follow.
reading, bro. Gotta keep
Yeah, yo,
reading.
like that's honestly what caught my eye in the
Mhm.
second issue because when he goes back to her after he goes, does what he does in the
Yeah,
beginning of of that first issue, he's like, "Oh, patch me up. Oh, I got questions for you. Like, can we bring other people back? Like, can we get
yeah.
like a squad going or something?"
Mhm.
And
Yeah, he's
it's
real
like it's that
casual.
inference that you're making for yourself. You're just like, "Oh, I wonder if that's where they're going."
Yeah, I mean, the story kind of unfolded itself perfectly from the very ending. I kind of worked from the very ending backwards, I think it came out. It turned out very good. Like fundamentally, like structure wise, I think it's like fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited to for the rest of the chapters to come out. Like,
Yeah. Um. Yeah, I mean that's the downside of like like you get people the issue early and then like they're stuck waiting for a long amount of time. But yeah, issue three's gonna work. I'm working on something else. Like right now, I just did the outline for something else that's gonna be um uh similar enough, but like also something different that I'm really excited about.
okay, are you allowed to talk about? I know copyright restraints and things
Or
like that.
contractual
Yeah.
situations.
People, no, I'm not that. No,
Oh,
no, it's all.
okay.
Yeah, I'm self-published for both of these. So my thinking was if I make the issues and learn, like you said, learn how to distribute and market, I can know if a publication is doing a good job. B, we can kind of attack on multiple fronts. So that was my thing. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make these comic books first and then find a publisher
Mhm.
so that
Okay.
I've already made my money back. I've already got the issues, et cetera, et cetera. So this is all me. And also people don't realize when you make a story and like even if you go into a screenwriting program and write the story, that is already copyrighted. Like it's when you come up with the idea, it's automatically copyrighted. People get the copyright because it's like safer, but it's just like an extra measure. Like all it takes is one screenshot to prove that hey, this was already an idea before, just so people know.
Okay.
Mhm.
I was about to
But
say.
you asked me about it. Did you ask me about the other series?
I was about to say. So the other series was what I was asking prior to that. Yeah.
I'm gonna give you guys an exclusive. It's called Intrusive Thoughts. Yeah,
Okay.
it's called Intrusive Thoughts, and it's about an orphan, and that's all I'll say. But I'm really fucking excited. I'm extremely excited. Not that it's going to be better than Decay, just something like that's like going to be like just different and also of the same DNA. You know?
Mm. Okay. Yeah, that sounds intrusive thought. That
Yeah.
sounds that sounds like a
That's a
freaking
movie title right there.
Well,
yeah.
hey, I mean, my goal is to turn Decay into a movie or even a Truth Thoughts. Like, I'm gonna have 5 Kickstarters for each issue, and then I'll make a trade back. What's my plan was to make a trade back, and then since all the art is done, I can then use the excess money to make a teaser for a film studio. So yeah, I mean shit, I would love to believe me, I still want to make a movie. You know what I'm saying? Like that's still the end goal,
Oh,
100%.
so I got a question. It's a question that I tend to pitch to a lot of uh, people, writers,
Okay.
who are doing different mediums, and it's so one of the biggest things that people have expressed interest in. I'm a huge manga reader myself, manga and comics,
Hell
and
yeah.
one of the things that I've come across a lot of people saying, people who are heavily more into novelizations, a lot of them are asking for novelizations of like comics or mangas. Is that something that you might look into down the line, or is that like more of like it's an idea, like you might test those waters down the line?
I would never say never, but that's certainly not something that I would like. Okay, it's easy to get. The more visual something is, the easier it is to get a viewer, right?
Hmm.
Like a movie is the easiest thing, and then you get to a comic book where you have to like flip through or scroll through. Then when you have a book, you have to flip through a book or listen to a book. Like it would make it harder for people to consume. So I would say hesitantly probably not, but if somebody else wants to go do it, uh shit, they've got my blessing. Help out the brand, you know what I'm saying?
Excellent. So let's put it like okay, let's say studios start to reach out to you about Decay and they're like, we want to produce it, this, and that. And a platform reaches out. Which platform would you go? Netflix, Hulu,
Definitely not
Prime?
Netflix. Definitely not Netflix. That's a sinking ship. I'd rather have a screen on the goddamn Titanic. I would have to go HBO Max,
Okay,
Mhm.
but I mean, it doesn't. I'd be happy with. I'm
whoever.
joking about the Netflix thing. Like, I'd be happy with literally, and like, you know what I'm saying. Like, but I think if you're talking about quality and you're talking about because Netflix used to be the place for the movies. Like they,
Mm.
it what was it? It was a movie with Jay Mitchell and Mary J. Blige. I forgot Mudbound.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. My bad. Yeah, yeah, I
That
know.
was peak. That was peak. Like, oh, Mary J. Blige. I feel like won an Oscar for that. And then Prime started making original movies, and Hulu started making original. And then you get to it, and if a movie with a big cast is on Netflix, like, oh, that's some bullshit. Not
Yeah.
some bull, but like it's not the same thing. But I say have to say
Mhm.
that. I mean, I just want to be turned to a movie for real. But like HBO Max, Apple,
Hey,
anything but Netflix.
Apple got some
Honestly,
heat right now too.
I just watched Severance, the first episode.
Bro,
Yeah, it reminded me of
let me,
Black Mirror episode.
let me know when you finish Severance. Oh my god.
Oh,
That
okay. I've heard good things. I heard good things. It was a little bit like Black Mirror in a lot of
uh-huh.
ways, which Black Mirror is my favorite show aside from Attack on Titan in Atlanta, probably like my number 3. And it deals a lot with consciousness.
Hmm.
And so it was kind of it's like okay, I it felt a little familiar
Yeah.
where I'm like, okay, I saw the ending coming, you know what I'm saying? So it's like it didn't wow me because I there's a lot of great episodes of Atlanta. Black
Like
Mirror.
Black
Black Mirror
Mirror.
is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's White Christmas, which kind of does something like anytime there's a couple of them that are like, okay, we're taking we're changing somebody's consciousness and putting it in a machine or we're
Mhm.
erasing it for the so not the show on Severance. I'm just saying like it didn't grab me personally, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. So I'm
Keep
very
watching.
excited.
Keep
Yeah,
watching.
yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. Like I
It
wasn't blown away, but I will keep. It's only a 7 episode season, so
yeah.
that's like even better.
It definitely has a lot of Black Mirror esque I know what you mean with the feels and everything like that. White Christmas for sure. The Star Trek episode kind of where it's
Yeah.
kind of yeah, yeah. So it's got a couple of those like kind of like things that you can get with. But yeah, Severance, the cliffhanger that they give you for the finale, I immediately thought that there was going to be another episode, and I was like, because most of the time it's like you said, it's 7 episodes, so you're thinking an 8 episode or a 10 episode
It's
season,
rare.
and it was
Yeah.
like, no, we're just gonna leave you right here
You can hold that. Like,
on an odd number, and it was like, what? I was like, but it was a really good cliffhanger. So I'm like, I'm excited for the next season. So whenever you finish, let me
I'll
know,
hit
man.
you up. Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I'll hit you up.
I have an interesting question for everybody. So,
All
being
right.
that we're all, writers, right? When it comes to watching a show or a film, what is the thing that like hits you first? Because I'm like, for me, and Steve knows this when we have conversations even about the Marvel shows, because people are ready usually when they're reviewing it, like, oh yeah, like this character and this and that, and I'm just like, the cinematography didn't really hit me that well, and they're like, like, is that what you're starting with? And I'm like, yo, that's what hits me first.
Mhm.
I
I mean,
think
you
about
already
the
told you it's
cinematography.
dialogue for me.
Oh yeah, dialogue. Um, for me, I'm very big on like character development and story thing and story driven type of shows. So like when I watch shows like Snowfall, Sons of Anarchy, things like that, because
Mhm.
I binge those,
Yeah.
and just watching a character, you remembering a character from episode one, season one, or something like that,
Mhm.
to where he is in season three or something like that. And I just love watching character development and growth like that. I'm not one of those people that's like even in like a show like Snowfall, Sons of Anarchy, things like that, where there is a lot of like action in it. I could care less about the action because if the drama that led up to the action is whack, it's
Mhm.
kind of pointless. You know what I'm
You watch
saying?
Attack
Like,
on Titan?
yeah, I watch Attack on Titan.
That's the best at that, I think. Like that
Yeah.
is the best at
Mhm.
like, hey, this small character, this small moment, this is a major plot point. Like, so I that's what I first thought of.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, when it comes to Attack on Titan, everybody here finished the manga, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I'm like, a little bit of a spoiler thing, I guess, if someone needs that. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Skip this for
Spoiler
Attack
alert.
on Titan if you haven't read it all the way to the end. So, man, with that twist of the fact that essentially, and people were like stunned and like looking back, like Aaron technically trained himself,
Yeah.
like from the future.
Mhm.
You think about it because it's a specific storytelling technique. I like the name where it's like you got to be kidding me. Where it's like all these
Yeah,
coincidences like kind of line up like to make the only way the story could have worked, and then you realize like okay, but there's an explanation at the end of it because like Aaron was making all this happen basically,
yeah,
Mhm.
which is weird. It's a
Yeah.
lot.
it
Yeah.
is a lot.
It
I
was,
don't
it
love the
was
ending, but sorry.
Yeah, he did
the
nothing wrong.
ending was kind of
You
just
bugging
like
out. You bugging the
whatever.
hell out. Yeah, yeah, I'm an Aaron Stan, but he's definitely wrong.
Yeah. He
The
that
rumbling.
yeah, it's just we just see it from his point of view, so that's why we feel like he doesn't do anything wrong. But
What?
well, you're seeing the story from his perspective, so that's why a lot of people feel like, oh, Aaron didn't do anything wrong. But if you're looking at it from the outside end of the whole story, he's definitely doing something
I
wrong.
think Aaron himself would admit that he was doing something morally wrong. I don't think. I don't
And
think.
hey, you look at some of these like anime conversations.
Oh
There's a lot of
God.
people that feel like Aaron is
Oh
doing nothing wrong. They all
God. Yeah,
deserve
I
this.
know cornballs. Yeah.
Yeah,
They
Corvo.
were like they killed one person for him, and he's like, I'm gonna take 100,000
Well, he did.
on
Yeah.
my part.
They did kill more than one person, but like, no. And I was talking. I think the discourse, especially on Twitter, is just horrible. Like I was talking to this person who was like, I ship Historia and Aaron more than Aaron and Mikasa. I always mess that up. Mikasa, and because I feel like they have more chemistry, and I'm like, the point isn't for them to have chemistry. Like they're two awkward kids. Like
Mhm.
they are children. Um she tried to kiss Aaron and Aaron punched the Titan. Like they're two they're two idiots essentially. Like that's why. So it's like people don't really they like the media, but they don't really understand the media. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's the entire point. Like if the story wouldn't work if they had a real romance.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
literally, like it would
I agree.
it wouldn't fall apart. It just wouldn't. Anyway,
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense.
I hate bad takes. Not hot takes, is it? Not bad takes that I disagree with it, but bad takes is in like you haven't considered this very obvious, at least to me, obvious. No, literally, the last scene they were together before the ending. He's like, "Hey, do you like me?" She's like, "No," and he's like, "All right, fuck it, rumbling time." Like you see that
Yeah.
whole city over there, she's about to be rumbled.
Yeah.
It's over with. You know what I'm saying? So
It's done.
Yeah.
they're finished. They're finito. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I thought it was
Yeah.
pretty obvious.
Yeah. That's mainly my thing though. Character development, watching
Yeah,
characters
there we go.
go crazy or like Death Note. I loved watching Light Yagami go from having an idea to kind of like really just he had good intentions at
Why do y'all
first.
keep doing this? No, stop it, bro.
At first
Stop
he
it.
was like I'm gonna get rid of killers and stuff like that, and then it was like, oh, I'm losing control, and he just kept going. And I love the fact that he kind of started with I'm getting rid of murderers, and then it turned into anybody that even thinks about knowing my name got to die and all this
I'm gonna
other
kill
stuff.
jaywalkers.
Yeah.
You know, some of those people. I don't do I don't do anime discourse like because it's the worst. It's the I love anime, but you get a bunch of them together and it's just a bunch of motherfuckers like who who don't even acknowledge the flaws of the medium of anime. But like, all right, the Thanos thing I'll give you, I guess. But we're talking about Light Yagami and Aaron Yeager didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I don't think people saying like didn't do anything wrong. It's just he thought that he thought he was starting with I'm killing criminals, and that's where he thought he was going with. And
Yeah.
then where we got to was he was freaking
Killing
trying to be
everybody.
God. You know what I'm saying? He like pretty
I
much.
mean, with
Killer
Aaron, once he
means
got
God.
checked, once he got checked by Mikasa, there was a problem. Because she was like I'm down for whatever, but like she's like, Aaron, women and children.
Yeah.
I don't
Women
think she
and
said
children.
that much. I think you're adding a lot of context. I think that they were all squarely against whatever Aaron was like. After season 3, it was like, oh, this motherfucker's a rogue agent. Like but ultimately, like she loves Aaron. It's kind of like the opposite of what's the Light's love interest from the
Damn it.
Lisa Ant.
Misa.
Is that
Lisa.
Lisa? I said Lisa
Yeah.
Ant.
Misa.
Jesus.
Misa.
Yeah, Lisa. It's like kind of the opposite. Like it's interesting because like they would both do anything for the protagonist, but like Aaron disregards her because like he's too busy punching Titans, and then
Titans.
Light just like I don't even know if he's misogynistic. He might just be a psychopath. I don't know.
He's puppeteering.
That is fair.
Like his actual crush, he didn't give a fuck about. Like Misa had a crush on him, and he was puppeteering her. And then he actually gets with his actual crush, and then he uses her to burn the building down. I'm like, bro, this dude just didn't care about nobody. You know what I'm saying? Towards as
Not
the
at
story
all.
went, like it was just like I just love watching characters turn into something else.
You're right. That is a great. I would argue that Aaron Yeager is like. I would argue a couple things. I would argue Reiner is like a top 5 TV antagonist, and I know I hate when people have these conversations about like, oh, is it really an antagonist? It's like, all right, bro. Like antagonist, anti-hero, protagonist, main hero. Like they all mean the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like anyway, he's like a top 5 villain. I'm gonna call him a villain because he's a villain for
The protagonist.
what 4.5
80%?
seasons. Well, who
Yeah.
knows how long this 4th season is? I guess I can't really say, but yeah, like he's amazing. He's so pathetic. Like he has so many layers. He's such a bitch. Like yeah, Aaron is just a great. Like I love. You guys watch Ranking of Kings? It's like Moji and Aaron are like the 2 prototypical anime like protagonists, but it's like the opposite spectrums. Like they're both like convicted. Like, they have a lot of conviction. They work really hard. They have a lot, and then like Aaron's trying to end the world basically, and then Moji's just like the nicest guy ever. And it's just like that's what I like. It's like, all right, I'm even watching Jujutsu Kaisen, and the main character is kind of like bland, But it's like, okay, he's just there. At least in this part of the story, I'm only on like episode 3. But I'm like, okay, cool. Like, just he's like a placeholder for the other characters to come in and be interesting. It's like when you get that middle ground and you're not doing anything interesting with it, that's when you get in trouble with these anime.
Fair enough. I love I love JJK. I read it as well on that one. That you only on episode 3. You got some
Yeah,
time before like the development starts to happen with everything.
I believe
But
you.
yeah,
Because people are like, this is amazing. And I'm just like, this is definitely not
good.
bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah,
This
they
is
did.
definitely worth watching.
Yeah.
But like, let's just say downstairs, downstairs I had the HBO Max, and upstairs I don't, and it's not worth the effort for me to walk downstairs. Like that's how I feel right now. But
Oh, okay.
I eventually I'll be downstairs with some time and I'll catch up.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm not mad at that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Especially
Yeah.
when you're just in an anime space and all you do is anime. Of course, like this is something like that. But with you you consume a lot of media, and that's I'm the same way. There's so much
yeah,
media, and sometimes things that are popular to other people don't necessarily hit as hard for me because I've seen so much stuff where it's like, oh, okay, this is good. You know what I'm saying? But people will be like, "Are you crazy? This, and that." So yeah,
yeah.
I'll definitely understand that.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad it's like cool to be like, hey, and listen, show. I mean, there's something to be said for a show that hooks you instantly, like Severance,
Mhm.
and then that's it. That is better than like Attack on Titan, which, in my opinion, takes about 2 seasons to get really good. You know what I'm saying? So like,
True.
but at the same time, like so 3 seasons in being like I said interested, but it's still good. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's still definitely like a good show. You know what I'm saying? But it's like I hate when people are like, oh, just give it 27 episodes. It'll pick up. I'm like, bro, shut up. I'm about to go. Shut the hell up. Like that's
Mhm.
how long do you expect me to watch this? You know what I'm saying?
So I can't be mad at that for me
27
because
episodes though? Like that's a lot.
I mean
I'm using an example, bro. But honestly, by the third or fourth episode, like,
Yeah, I was like 3 or 4 episodes. You gotta that's the test.
and then Jujutsu Kaisen is like 20-minute episodes, so it's really like I'm really like I would be on this like the first episode of an hour-long drama. So especially
Mhm.
I'm really chilling. It's because
mhm,
it's like really easy to consume. But like,
Mhm.
right.
damn, you have me watching an hour-long drama and you're like, yeah, 6. I feel like Mad Men was like that. I was like, bro, when does this shit
Ooh,
when
I
does this
never.
start? Like, where's when's the show start? It's just him in a fucking ad room
it's
talking
it's
about
on
Pepsi.
it's on my list. I haven't watched that one, but now you just pushed it back a little bit.
It's just Don Draper talking about like, here's the thing about cigarettes. Like, it's like,
What are we talking
here's the
about?
great thing about Coke. Why would you drink Pepsi? Drink Coke. That's the whole show for like the fourth, and he cheats on his wife. Like that's it. Like I don't know.
Damn. Yeah,
I don't know.
I
I'm
had to
trying.
catch it. But shoot, Double O, do you got any more questions involving that, or we just because I about to say
um
I mean revolving around Decay before I like go
mhm.
on. We can go on a tangent or however you want to do it. Because I know he said he's on his second leg. So
Right.
Which was my last leg. No, I
Well,
am starting my campaign tomorrow morning, so I do got to go pretty soon here. But I did want to ask you what y'all thought about the case you wanted to like, and I'm curious which one you like better as well.
oh, for me, see, episode 2. I mean, episode chapter 2 for me because chapter 1 was really just like you put the bait on the hook and then you put it in
Yeah,
the water and you just kind of dangled it. And then so now like especially at the on the last page of chapter 1 when he wakes up and it's like oh shit it's about to get it and then the second one now you're like in the shit and you're trying to figure out what he's going to all get into what all kind of different situations he's going to get himself into so I'm ready for what's to come. So second, this maybe it's because it was the last chapter, is why the second chapter was more important to me, or quote unquote better. Not trying to say
hmm
anything, but like quote unquote better to me because of the fact that I'm like, all right, now we're getting deeper. Now I'm ready for the next one. I'm ready for the next one. So maybe that's how it's going to be with each chapter because what I'm saying 5 chapters. I'm assuming each chapter is going to be like, okay, better, 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 and then what I'm saying. So for me right now, chapter 2 was my shit.
So
I
for
hope
me,
that's the goal. And you real. I'm sorry. Oh, real quick. Like
like,
you learn, you take what you learn and you build on that. So like that should. I would hope that would be the case.
yeah, I'm like for me the I appreciate a good setup. So for me, which is why like the whole thing about like just testing something 3 4 episodes, right? Or like for a comic run, you'll test the first 2 3 issues.
Mhm.
Um, it's something to be said about good setup, and that's the feeling that the first issue gave. It was really good setup. And like Steve said, to kind of piggyback off what he was saying, it leads you into like I want more. Like
Yeah.
great setup, want more. So I will also agree with Steve that my favorite out of the two was definitely the second issue because
Let's go.
for me it now started building the relationships. So you got the setup in the
Yep.
first issue, second issue now you're setting up relationships. So I love the banter that happened with them at the end when he's like he showed up, he's like I'm here and like yo can you like do something about this and he's like he's like patch me up and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, so what are we gonna do from here? We're gonna roll out. Like, can we get like, you're inferring like, oh, like, can we get like X, Y, and Z? Like,
Hmm.
bring them back. Like, let's. So I love the banter and the building of the relationships from the second issue, and like Steve said, I'm just like, what was that third one?
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
shit. It's in the works, but I will be releasing Intrusive Thoughts before issue 3. I do know that much. So
Okay.
um, I just want to take some time and let the like figure some things out with my distribute. You guys got to be learning. I want to try a different printer. I want to try different artists and just try to get the process down perfectly. So I think it might be a while for. I'll send it to you guys early. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah, I got you guys. And the press will get you get it early.
Okay.
So,
Cool. Cool.
Cool, cool.
Bet. Well, before we get out of here, plug all your social media, your Kickstarter, all that stuff.
hell yeah.
Um, so go ahead and plug all that.
Absolutely. So I'm at Twitter at Stokes the Writer. I'm on Instagram, instagram.com/Decay Comic. And the Kickstarter goes live. When you guys posting this?
So we will be posting this next Wednesday.
Next one's shit, it'll have been live. So yeah. So and then if you guys could put the Kickstarter link when you post this, that'd be
Yes, sir.
huge.
Definitely
And
will.
Kickstarter's gonna be lit. I got the necklace from the campaign, from the comic book. I have a physical mixtape with music the inspired by Decay. I have like multiple variant covers. I got the physical copy, so it's definitely gonna be lit. Y'all want to check that out?
Big facts. Big facts. Um, just send me the link whenever the Kickstarter ready, and I'll definitely put this in the comments or whatever, in the information section.
I do believe the Kickstarter is in the links in the press kit.
It's in the press
So
kit. Okay,
yeah,
bet.
that might be easier.
Okay, bet. So yeah, when I post this, I'll probably edit it up, and then I'm gonna have it right there, and I'm gonna have your at and everything in the description, and that way everybody can find you just in case they didn't have pin and everything ready. They can just click the description. Boom,
Yeah,
Kickstarter will be there, and your at will be there.
hell yeah.
All right, man. Thank you for joining. This has been hella fun. Double O.
Oh
Want to
yeah,
sign
Absolutely.
out?
yes sir. So as always, find me at Trino Forest, linktr.ee/00 status. All my links are there. Social media that it's my bread and butter is Twitter, so always find me at double O status. Um, on there heavy every day, having conversations, retweeting stuff. So find me there if you want to link up.
Yeah, and I am Scuba Steve 1428 on all social media. Follow my page at the Blerd Mind Pod on all social media. That way, it has a link tree. Even if you can't find Double O's link tree, he will be in our link tree, and you can follow all the rest of the knuckleheads. It's 9 of us total, so you can follow all their Twitches, YouTubes, and everything else that they got going on. They couldn't be here today, but you know what I'm saying? It's cool. It's a duo right now. But
Yes,
thank you
sir.
again for joining us. And we'll see you guys on the next one.